I recently finished John Green's latest novel, Turtles All the Way Down, and wanted to share my thoughts and feelings, so here goes. I finished this book in about a week and found it thoroughly enjoyable. I've read all his novels but one, and thought this novel had all the best parts of a quintessential John Green novel, plus some added elements that I found really appealing and exciting, most notably the female narrator. John Green introduces some really vivid and realistic characters and depicts their relationships and personal struggles really beautifully. Turtles All the Way Down is about a young girl named Aza. She finds herself entangled in the mystery of the disappearance of the famous shady billionaire Russell Pickett. She and her best friend Daisy befriend Russell Pickett's son, Davis, to find out more and hopefully solve the mystery and claim the prize. Aza also suffers from mental illness. More specifically, she has these intrusive thought spirals that have a profound effect on her life and her relationships. And John Green's depiction of this is incredibly jarring and moving. Other themes explored throughout the novel are friendship, particularly the friendship between Aza and Daisy, motherhood and fatherhood, grief, the idea of wealth and inheritance, and the weird ways that class divides permeate our lives. It does a lot of things. John Green also unpackages the mystery of Russell Pickett's disappearance in a really interesting way. It's usually portrayed almost as an afterthought, with certain points of the mystery unfurling during the most unexpected times. This comes from his almost stream of consciousness style narration, which works wonderfully to explore the inner workings of the protagonist's mind and the way she pieces parts of the puzzle together in those random moments. And it's all underscored by Aza's own personal insecurities about herself and her future, and the challenges she faces in her relationships with her friends and family. There's also a bit of romance, which I always enjoy. I liked a lot of things about Turtles All the Way Down. It was a lovely reading experience. It felt really fluid and effortless, and I did the thing where you get through 20-30 pages of the novel without even realizing that you're reading, while you just experience the narrative in your mind. I wonder if there's a word or a term for that. Anyway, I haven't experienced that in a long time, so that was really special. I was also left with a bit of a heavy stomach after I'd finished it. You know when you feel kind of empty inside after you finish reading a book? I think that really speaks to the book's impact on the reader and the way you become emotionally invested in the characters. I think John Green has always done that really well. There are also these amazing one-liners that really pack a punch. Like you read them and just have to take a moment to pause because of their staggering impact. That sounds really dramatic, but I was actually very deeply affected by some of the things that he writes. As much as I'd really love to share my favorite quotes from the book, I think they can only really be experienced within the greater context of the novel and the story, so I won't spoil them by mentioning them now. I also really like the way that John Green writes about these really thoughtful, smart teenagers who can make these really interesting and frankly beautiful observations about the world in which they live, which is what often draws me to his novels, and I thought it was worth a mention in this review. In terms of criticism, I don't really feel qualified to criticize a book that I've really only read once through. Maybe that'll change as I become more widely read and develop my tastes in literacy more. I will say that this book can be seen to follow the John Green formula that people always talk about when discussing his books. But I don't necessarily see that as a negative thing. Like, he's really good at writing coming-of-age stories, and I still found the story moving and compelling and entertaining, which I personally think is more important in a reading experience. All in all, great read, would recommend. Quick update, I have almost finished reading the first chapter of the Lord of the Rings trilogy. It seems like the next logical expansion of my fandomness. I'm also reading and loving Ryan O'Neill's anthology of short stories titled The Weight of a Human Heart, and I really want to talk about this more because it is quite excellent. I'm also keen to start on some of the plays that I've collected over the past few years, so that should be exciting. Thank you so much for watching this humble book review. And stay tuned for more.